Hi everybody, this is Kevin and welcome back to another video. And today I would like to share my thoughts on Final Fantasy IV, which is the first of the SNES Final Fantasy games, and it is also a lot of people's favorite Final Fantasy game, which after replaying it for, I don't know, probably the fifth time now, I can understand why. It's a great game. I loved replaying it, and well, let's talk about it. But let's start with a bit of background information, because just looking at the release dates and all the consoles it's been on, I think before Final Fantasy VII came out, this was probably the most popular of all the Final Fantasy games because, of course, originally released in 1991 on the SNES, then some years later re-released on the PlayStation in 1997, though we didn't get the North American release until 2001. The Wonder Swan Color, the Game Boy Advance in 2005, which is actually the way I played the game for the first time. It got a full-on remake on the Nintendo DS in 2007 with excellent English voice acting. Go check out the voice cast there. There's some big names voicing the characters, and they would actually go on to reprise their roles in Dissidia. Then they released the complete collection on the PSP in 2011, which some years later they released almost like a DLC. I think that might have been available on phones way back when in Japan, called Final Fantasy IV Interlude. And then in 2008 they released Final Fantasy IV The After Years, which takes place, I think, 15 years after the events of Final Fantasy IV, because, spoilers, but I mean, the game's so old, you guys should know. Cecil and Rosa end up getting married and having a kid who ends up playing a pivotal role in the After Years. And, of course, pretty much all the characters from the original game return and have more story to tell, because they do have a bit of a cliffhanger for a certain character, which we'll get to soon. But it is so interesting to play these games, well, in my case, replay them in order of release, because of course I played it and reviewed Final Fantasy 1 and 2 last year. Just the other day, I played through Final Fantasy 3. Here I am playing through Final Fantasy 4 again. And it is cool to see the development game to game, where things were introduced, like Chocobos in Final Fantasy 2, Moogles in Final Fantasy 3, as well as summons and job classes, which we'll get into more of the job classes in Final Fantasy 5. But with Final Fantasy 4, what they really do, what really stands out, and what they're able to do now with the SNES being a whole new console, is put more of an emphasis on storytelling. And they did that a number of ways, you know, the character arcs, but also with the introduction of having character themes, which in the background we've been listening to Rydia's theme, one of my favorite themes in the game. But in particular, there's the theme of love, which is pretty much associated as Rosa's theme, although it's kind of Rosa and Cecil's theme together. And that's where you get the whole romance aspect, which that would pretty much go on in every other Final Fantasy game where there's, you know, some sort of romance. 5... I guess kind of Bartz and Lena. 6, there's multiple love interests. I mean, there's it's funny with that, you have like Locke and Terra in the first half, and then in the second half it's Locke and Celis. But there's some other love interests because there's so many characters in 6. With 7, there's Cloud and Tifa, or Cloud and Aerith, and then Aerith and Zack. 8, of course, Squall and Rinoa. 10, well actually, why don't I skip over 7? 7 with Zidane and Dagger, Princess Garnet. And then 10, my favorite, Titus and Yuna. But you get the idea. That started in Final Fantasy IV. And it sort of carries over with the job classes because each character has their pronounced role. Where you have Cecil as the Dark Knight who turns into the Paladin, Kain as the Dragoon, Rydia the Summoner, Rosa the White Mage, Tella the Sage, Edward the Bard, the Spoony Bard, which there's a lot of humor in this game too, Yang the Monk, and so on and so forth. So lots of good stuff. And as 3 introduced the dual continents, you know, there's the floating continent and then the sunken world that they visited later on. In this case, there's actually 3 places to explore. The world map, of course, the underworld, and then even the moon. So lots of stuff going on in Final Fantasy IV. Absolutely loved it. Another cool thing is there's the row of 5 characters, which for the first 3 games, there's been the row of 4 characters, which has been a staple for JRPGs throughout the years. And after this, going back to 5, they would go down to 4 characters. In 6, there'd be 4 characters. But then for 7 and 8, they would go to 3 characters. 9 go back to 4, 10, 3. So you get the idea. They never went back to 5 characters in a row, which is kind of a shame because I did enjoy that. But let me go to some of the screenshots here as I elaborate more. Like I said, they have the love interest with Cecil and Rosa, Rydia, which, you know, people like to rag, and I did too. When I first played the game, I thought that the fake out deaths were kind of cheesy, and it's like, oh, come on, let's have some impactful deaths. There are a few characters who do die in this game and stay dead, like Rydia's mother, which, the Mist Dragon, but in turn her mother died as well. Anna, that was Edward's love interest, and then Tella. And yeah, there are the fake out deaths with Yang and Sid and Palom, but I think it works for the game's lighthearted nature. There's this famous meme here where Tella calls Edward the Spoonie Bard. You Spoonie Bard! Which, you know, I know localization is a heated debate these days, but this is one that's become a meme over the years, so it's kind of cool that they kept it in the Pixel remaster. So it's just hilarious. And he starts zapping him, and Edward's not fighting back. And, like, okay, as far as the story goes, for what they're able to do, they are able to tell a wonderful story here, even down to a detail such as this, where there's ice blocking their path, and Rosa's like, okay, Rydia, you're the young summoner, you can use black magic, and at this point, yeah, she can use, like, thunder, blizzard, bio, you know, whatever, the basic magic spells, and she's like, oh, you can't use fire? But Rydia chooses not to use fire because of what happened to her village. So, excellent storytelling, just in little scenes like that. There's Yang, right? Yeah, here's some of the humor right here, where Sid joins the party, and you got the 2 old men just arguing with each other, like, I'm not deaf, you don't need to shout, old man. It's like, Sid, you're old too. But here's like one of the fake out deaths early on where Palom turn themselves to stone to stop the wall from caving in, and Tella's like, yo, you fools, I should have made the sacrifice, what are you doing? But they're able to come back because of the Elder. And then Tella, that's another good storytelling moment where Tella learns Meteor once Cecil goes through the Mount Ordeals and becomes a paladin. He regains the ability to cast Meteor, but Meteor costs 99 MP, and at this point in the game, Tella only has 90 MP, so he doesn't even have enough MP to use it. But in this fight against Golbez, he musters basically his life energy to use it. And again, here's like some more of the scenes. Like you see the for what they can do with, what is this, 16-bit pixels, give it a hug. So I don't know, I thought it was cute. Edge, one of my favorite characters in the game, was like, oh, look at these 2 hotties. Which I think in the after years, don't they make Edge and Rydia a couple? Which, yeah, okay, Rydia in this game, when she started like 7 or 8 years old, but she gets transported to the land of summons and trains with Leviathan, and space-time is altered there, so when she comes back, she's like a grown woman, so that's how that works. Like I said, you get to go up to the moon with the lunar whale. There's Fusuya, who's the wise wizard watching over the Lunarians, which we learn that Cecil and Golbez are Lunarians, and Cecil and Golbez are brothers. So, lots of good stuff. And then the game, you get like this cliffhanger here with Kane, where he takes his helmet off. And this carries over in the after years when you see the hooded man in that game, and that's Kane, you know, seeking the path of redemption. And then in the after years, he becomes the Holy Dragoon, which was so cool. And yeah, they end up getting married, so I don't know, I kind of spoiled this whole game, but, you know, most people have probably played it already, and otherwise, why watch this video? But I love the things that it introduced into the Final Fantasy series. I know this is a rather quick video for me, because I usually ramble on about things for quite a while, but you know, it's just cool to see. I really enjoyed too how the characters, you never really make your own party. It's just people join you as the story dictates it. Like early on, it's just Cecil and Kane, and then Rydia ends up joining, and then, you know, Rosa, Yang, and then you all get separated because of Leviathan, Palom and Porum, and like people just come and go. Kane leaves the party a few times because he's being mind controlled, which they actually improved that plot point in the DS remake because there's more voice acting and lines and stuff. Because it kind of happens abruptly in this version. Like, Kane's like, no, I'm still being mind controlled by Golbez. And they add more context to it in the remake, which is good. But again, like I said, they did the best they could with their hardware back in the day on the SNES. And really told a wonderful story. A relatively short game. I think it took me 15 hours to beat. And I definitely recommend it. At this point, if you're a Final Fantasy fan and you haven't played these games, like the old school 1 through 6... like, what are you doing, man? First of all, they're available on so many different consoles now. They're all available on Steam. I played the Pixel Remasters. The Pixel Remasters have, you know, quality, easy mode, if you will. You can call it quality of life improvements, but easy mode. But not even that. I mean, it saves you an hour of grinding. You just turn the EXP and Gil multiplier, and, you know, you don't have to sit there grinding for an hour. You can only grind for half an hour. So I don't know, man. If you're a Final Fantasy fan, you owe it to yourself to play these games. I really enjoyed it. And I don't know, this might be controversial. I sort of have these controversial hot take opinions on the Final Fantasy series. I love this game. And my hot take with the NES trilogy is that 2 is my favorite. My hot take here is 5 is probably my favorite, which I'm going to play next. I also really like 6. And I understand why 4 is so popular and everyone loves it. And I gotta say, as I was just praising the Pixel Remaster, they really should have released the interlude and after years on the Pixel Remaster as well, because even the Game Boy Advance version has more summons you can obtain, and I think a bonus dungeon and stuff like that. Which 2, with the PSP version of 2, there's like a bonus story where you have like the Dark Warriors or something, or yeah, the Dark Warriors of Light. Which, yeah, in this case, they introduced that in 3, where they had, you know, the 4 light crystals, but there's also the 4 dark crystals, and that's the case here. And there's even more crystals on the moon, so there's like 16 crystals in this game, which is crazy. So, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and stay tuned next time for probably my review of Final Fantasy V, which I'm looking forward to playing that. And going through the job system again, and can't wait, man. It's been a long time since I played 5. This one, I played 5 on the Game Boy Advance as well, but this one, I played this one a lot. Probably because it's such a short game, and yeah, definitely recommend. So, thank you guys so much. Have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Peace out.
99.